Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options and Play video update. So, humming along, right? That's my uh, that's my phrase this week. Just humming along. Earnings season is humming along, and the market is humming right along. Another day, another rally. Pretty impressive. You know, was going to do a follow up about the SPY, but I thought there was other interesting things to talk about today. But just kind of like quickly, it really is strange how just how the option market seems to just kind of be mispricing options on these averages at particular intervals. It's not all the time. But coming into this week, we talked about it. The busiest week of earnings season, key technical level. You had the Fed day on Wednesday. You have the jobs report tomorrow. Yet the options are only pricing in like 470 on Monday. Monday morning it was like four and a quarter. It was at the point where it's like they don't always look at it for long trades. Most of the time it's just hedging, but sometimes you just kind of scratch your head. You're saying like, why are these options so inexpensive? And in this case, we ended up from Monday, we ended up rallying almost 8 points versus pricing in like four and a quarter. Kind of crazy. And you have the jobs report tomorrow morning. Anyway, on to NOW, right? So it's really important, not only right now, but I think just in general when it comes to trading is recognizing leadership and riding leadership until it changes, right? And throughout most of last year and October, November, right? Software stocks hung around. When the market bounced in January, what came up first? What lifted to highs first was the software stocks. So it just shows you that people were putting money to work there, or if you want to look at the opposite way, they were just reluctant to sell, right? So Microsoft was the market cap wise the biggest name, but NOW also was a pretty important software stock. I mean, it was one of like the top names in the group. And going into earnings, just had like this really solid setup, tight little flag underneath resistance. The stock just off its 52-week high, right? I mean, you go back even further, you can see, I mean, how well of a defined area of resistance this is. And, they weren't pricing in that big of a move. But you could see that if the numbers were good, and the last 2 years they've done nothing but beat and solid guidance or higher guidance. So I mean, odds were that the numbers were going to be good. So you would think that if the stock opens up a little bit, it could really trigger like a significant breakout, right? I mean, really well defined resistance, leadership in a really strong sector, and what I was looking at was a retest of this September high, but I mean, it just absolutely cruised through that off the open, and it opened above 210. I was looking for 205, 206, so it just gapped straight through that and ran all the way up on 228. So just a monster move. But what I wanted to highlight is why you stick with leadership, because names like this, right? Not only will you see a lot of participation in moves like this, right? Like breakouts, right? Leadership stocks in strong sectors or leadership sectors that have good numbers and breakout. That tends to be where the participation is better, right? So breakouts better. Also, though, it's good to focus on this in terms of correlations, right? The video yesterday kind of went into it a little bit, but when you follow certain sectors maybe a little bit more close, you recognize like the patterns that stocks have and how certain names tend to trade together, right? So, with the sector acting so strong, you're kind of looking for names similar to NOW that are flagging, maybe not right at their highs, but maybe just off of it. Leadership names from last year, and that's why going into this week I was talking about Salesforce, right? Which you can see, I mean, having a pretty nice day. So this is with Microsoft actually trading lower, right? You can see here, Microsoft is actually down. So Salesforce, right? Leadership, leadership most of last year, having a nice day today, working on the top of like a flag breakout. Adobe, another one, right? Leadership for most of last year, working on like a flag breakout. Trade Desk was one we were looking at. This one's not as tight, but still, I mean, leadership from last year, reacting positively to the numbers today, right? So it's really important to kind of do a little bit more work, right? Do a little bit more digging. Find like the names in like the strong sectors, or if you want to look at the opposite way, you find like the weak names in the lagging sectors, right? Because once we finally do pull in, and like those are probably the names that will roll over first. But it's the strong names, strong sectors, um, bullish setups, bullish breakouts. Like these are the names that are probably going to be working better, just because there's going to be better participation on these moves. So do a little bit more digging, right? Find like the setups, right? Find like the correlation, figure out who's reporting, and then look for opportunities. And in this case, like a handful of these names, like Trade Desk, won't report till after February options expire, so the February contracts don't have that catalyst. Salesforce, right, won't report till well after February options expire, so it doesn't have the February catalyst. So you're paying less for options because they don't have the catalyst in it. Adobe, same thing, right? No catalyst over the next 2 weeks, but there's plenty of software reports. So if the numbers keep coming in good, you expect this to respond well too. So it's just stuff like that, right? I mean, there's always opportunity, and it's not necessarily just in the names that are reporting, right? Like the headlines create opportunity in a lot of different areas, and it's just kind of like thinking outside the box sometimes, right? And doing a little bit extra work, finding like the setups that maybe flying under the radar a little bit, because those are the ones where maybe everybody was focused on Microsoft last night, but NOW really really tight setup that had some really nice potential. All right. So barely any time to breathe because tonight, another super busy night. Amazon, definitely the headliner, but a handful of other names that could really be pretty substantial movers as well. So wrapping up the week with a busy night, busy morning. We have the jobs report in the morning as well. So all things considered, probably a pretty busy finish to what's been like a really busy week up to this point. Uh, I hope you guys have a great night. I'd love to hear what you think about these trades or upcoming trades, or basically whatever's on your radar. If you want to pick my brain, or if you just want to bounce the ideas off me, I mean, I'd love to hear from you. So reach out, all right? Again, have a great night. Best of luck if you're trading anything, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.